Pembangkang, penunggang hebat, khususnya parti seperti PAS dan juga Bersatu. Apa yang mereka buat seperti kehakiman, kebebasan kehakiman, bukannya perjuangan mereka untuk membebaskan kehakiman, tapi apa yang mereka lebih fokus adalah dengan dakwaan dan tuduhan Perdana Menteri campur tangan di dalam perlantikan hakim-hakim dan juga ketua hakim negara. Walaupun ya perkara itu tidak terbukti, ya tidak sahih dan sebagainya, mereka masih menggunakan isu itu sehingga akhirnya kononnya mereka mau adakan himpunan turun Anwar. Jadi kita tahu kerajaan ini adalah kerajaan yang berintegriti. Perdana Menterinya berintegriti dan seringkali mengatakan tidak akan campur tangan di dalam kehakiman dan sebagainya. Jadi itulah yang berlaku sahabat-sahabat semua. Membuatkan para walaun-walauntit semakin kepanasan, walaupun di dalam parti sendiri banyak penjilat dan sebagainya, mahu menjatuhkan orang sendiri seperti YB Rafizi Ramli yang melakukan tanggungjawab beliau sebagai ahli parlimen. Kerana apa? Kerana Pembangkang gagal di dalam tanggungjawab mereka sebagai semak dan imbang. Jadi terpaksalah Rafizi melakukan semak dan imbang, ya, menekan kerajaan supaya tidak membuat kesilapan. Dan kita boleh nampak sahabat semua, akhirnya ada keputusan Perdana Menteri mengumumkan dalam ucapannya ini esok akan ada pengumuman penting berkaitan dengan perlantikan dan sebagainya. Jadi sekali lagi tanpa membuang masa, ayo kita tonton bersama video ini.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Menteri Azlina Osman, KSN, Tan Sri Azri, Perdana Menteri, Kula, Ketua Audit Negara dan rakan-rakan yang saya muliakan, saya ucap tahniah setinggi-tingginya kepada Azalina dan juga jabatan kerana menganjurkan persidangan yang relevan dengan perbincangan semasa yang menjadi di antara tunggak dalam negara madani seperti mana kita sebut soal tata kelola, tatanan negara merupakan satu keutamaan kerana tanpa kekuatan pentadbiran dan pimpinan serta jentera yang tunduk kepada beberapa prinsip perundangan dan ketelusan dan integriti dan amanah, tidak mungkin kita boleh pacu pertumbuhan yang lebih menyegarkan. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, of course, it's a rare honor and privilege to address you on the subject of integrity and good governance. And I must commend, of course, the Minister for her commitment. I used to say in a lighter vein, there were one lady minister that can not only equal but surpass 5 other ministers. So if people talk about underrepresentation by the ladies in the cabinet, they should hear Azhar in her strong position in articulating issues of governance, of integrity, uncompromising, and I, of course, need to thank and salute her for her commitment, her support. And it is no exaggeration. I'm saying because I chair the cabinet meetings, and normally I tend to look to the left to avoid her intervention because sometimes it can be quite challenging. But at most occasions, I must say that she represented the voice of reason, voice of conscience, and a clear commitment to effect change and reform in this country, which we need critically. We inherit the system in a time when there was so much talk about endemic corruption and poor governance. And it's time, therefore, to make all the necessary changes. It's unfortunate that yesterday when you arrived, probably what is being projected is, of course, the issue of the judicial independence. May I assure you that now, coming to my exceeding 2.5 years in office, I've not discussed with any judge one case, not with the Chief Judge, not with any judge. I adhere to the principles of judicial independence. But there are, of course, concerns expressed, and I must take note of that. Concerns because, firstly, because of the delay of appointments, and secondly, because of the perception that some appointments to the key positions in the office of judiciary may be somewhat compromised, projecting candidates that is being questioned or questionable to some. But I may assure you, this is not the case. I'm sure my friends in the legal fraternity would respect the fact that we must work based on the law and the facts, not a perception, and leave the issue of perception to politicians. Because then only we can continue governing. This morning I had, of course, lengthy discussion with the Council of Rulers, Malay Raja, and I think let them decide, and tomorrow hopefully there'll be an announcement that would clearly dispel these so-called negative perceptions. But as you know, in politics, and I hope it does not affect the position of the Bar Council, because that was what they believe in. And although I've vehemently denied, it did not satisfy at least some of them, probably some political ploys. But now that this is not the case, I don't want them to come and say, no, you did it because you were under pressure. Azarina knows that, the Chief Secretary knows the fact that there was never a case, and names have been, questioned, or what seemed to be compromised has never been presented to the king or for the Malay rulers. So I rest my case, and I hope, inshallah, when the announcement is made, things will prove that this government, the Madani government, is committed to reform, including the principle of judicial independence.
Saya doakan semoga berkat sumbangan tuan-puan, RM1 ke RM10 ke RM1 ke yang tuan beri, ianya menjadi.
Now, your presence underscores, of course, a crucial truth defining our nation's trajectory. The fight against corruption is not merely a moral imperative, but a driver for robust, inclusive, and sustainable economic development. Corruption in all its insidious form poses a direct threat to economic progress and national harmony. It inflates the cost of doing business, distorts fair competition, stifles innovation, and deters both domestic and foreign investment. Corruption diverts public funds from essential sectors such as critical infrastructure, quality education, and accessible healthcare. It creates an uneven playing field, disadvantaged ethical businesses, and hindering the equitable distribution of economic benefits. Now, furthermore, it often leads to short-sighted decisions that exploit our natural resources without regard for future generations. Now, we have experts on issues of corruption, but let me share with you that corruption does not only involve political leaders and the government. It extends into private companies, highlighting the need for corporate leaders to act ethically and champion good governance within their organizations. This is a fundamental requirement for sustainable business and a powerful deterrent against corruption. We in the government is tackling corruption head-on, guided by the principles of sustainability, care, compassion, respect, innovation, prosperity, and trust. And you have a very effective anti-corruption commission, determined to act forcibly and giving a clear message that there's zero tolerance for corruption in this country. If at all this is my dream, I want to make sure that this country, in a matter of years, can emerge as one of the most dynamic emerging economies that is clearly strong, committed, and free from endemic corruption. And this is, of course, a position that should be shared with full commitment, not only by the minister and the ministry, by the government, by the chief secretary, and the entire force, and the auditor general, and of course, a forceful, strong, formidable, courageous Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. So our promise to end corruption is absolute, to bring back integrity to our institutions, protect public interests, and rebuild public trust. This effort becomes even more important as Malaysia takes on the ASEAN Chairmanship in 2025. Our focus will be to boost economic development across the region under the theme inclusivity and sustainability. Our fight for integrity is deeply connected to our wider economic plans. In the first quarter of 2025, Malaysia's economy grew by 4.4%, thanks to the strong local demand and ongoing investments. We believe that an unwavering commitment to combating corruption will enhance national and regional competitiveness, foster a dynamic business environment, and ensure inclusive growth that reaches all segments of society, especially youth, the minorities, and the marginalized communities. This is central to securing the region's long-term sustainability. Our progress in the Corruption Perception Index, CPI, serves as a vital benchmark. The nation is dedicated to continuous improvements towards its target of being among the top 25 countries globally in the CPI within the next decade by 2033, as outlined in the National Anti-Corruption Strategy alluded to by Minister Azalina. We are equally committed to strengthening our governance and institutional frameworks to promote accountability, transparency, and public trust. And again, Malaysia's current role as President of International Anti-Corruption Academy Assembly of Parties for the 13th session, a historic first for our country, underscores our determination to lead by example in global anti-corruption.
Berikan mereka kekuatan dari dalam untuk meneroka dunia luar. Frizzle Gold, mudah dihadam dan dicerna.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are now in the process of amending some very critical legislation. Number one, the Whistleblower Protection Act, Act 711, to provide broader and more meaningful safeguards. This includes removing previous exclusions that limited protection and establishing an independent Whistleblower Protection Committee to ensure effective implementation. Secondly, we will also introduce a Freedom of Information Act to strengthen transparency and give the public access, real access, to government decisions. This is a vital step in building public trust and encouraging informed participation in our democracy. We'll bring this law to Parliament by the end of the year. If it is late, it's Azalina's fault, as always, so that the public can hold us to account. Can you do it by the end of the year? Done. You see? Before I ask you, she has already anticipated my question. A difficult cabinet member. Now, these reforms reflect our holistic and determined approach to building strong, fair and transparent institutions that serve all Malaysians with integrity. Let this conference be a catalyst for meaningful and tangible change in our policies, our institutions, and our collective culture. We commend the companies and business leaders who have embraced the corporate integrity pledge and taken real steps to embed ethics and transparency in their operations. The government urges all businesses, especially our SMEs, to adopt strong governance practices and to work together with us in building a national culture of integrity that drives sustainable, inclusive growth. Now, the fight against corruption is a shared responsibility. I used to assume, at least when I was in the opposition, it's an easy task. Now I realize it's a tough, challenging, formidable task, not necessarily popular, particularly when you start probing into the big tycoons and very, very rich political billionaires. They combine their forces and make your life more miserable. But we must remain determined because the action must involve every segment of society with courage to stand together to defend transparency, fairness, and justice. Together, let us build a future where integrity is our shared foundation, where trust is strong, and where progress truly uplifts every generation. Terima kasih. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen.